My mother has never learnt the secret of coordinating the ingredients of a meal. Her gravy is always made before the roast potatoes have turned brown. I went into the kitchen to give her some advice, but she shouted, "Bugger off out," through the steam. When it came, the meal was quite nice, but there was no witty repartee over the table. Not a single hilarious anecdote was told. In fact, I wish I'd had my Xmas dinner with Ned Sherrin. His relations are dead lucky to have him. I bet their sides ache from laughing. The Sugdens don't approve of drink, so every time my parents even looked at a bottle of spirits, they tightened their lips and sipped their tea. And yes, it is possible to do both. I've seen it with my own eyes. In the evening, we all had a desultory game of cards. Grandad Sugden won £4,000 off my father. There was a lot of joking about my father giving Grandad Sugden an IOU, but father said to me in the kitchen, "No way am I putting my name to paper. That mean old git would have me in court as fast as you could say King Edward." The Sugdens went to bed early on our rusty camp beds. They are leaving for Norfolk at dawn because they are worried about potato poachers. I now know why my mother turned out to be willful and prone to alcohol abuse. It is a reaction against her lousy moronic upbringing in the middle of the potato fields of Norfolk. Wednesday, December 26th, Boxing Day. I was woken at dawn by the sound of Grandad Sugden's rusty Ford Escort refusing to start. I know I should have gone down into the street and helped to push it, but Grandma Sugden seemed to be doing all right on her own. Must be all those years of flinging sacks of potatoes about. My parents were wisely pretending to be asleep, but I know they were awake, because I could hear coarse laughter coming from their bedroom, and when the Sugdens' engine came alive and the Escort finally turned the corner of our cul-de-sac, I distinctly heard the sound of a champagne cork popping and the chink of glasses, not to mention the loud cheers. Went back to sleep, but the dog licked me awake at 9:30, so I took it for a walk past Pandora's house. Her dad's Volvo wasn't in the drive, so they must still be staying with their rich relations. On the way, I passed Barry Kent, who was kicking a football up against the wall of the old people's home. He seemed full of seasonal goodwill for once, and I stopped to talk with him. He asked what I had for Christmas. I told him, and I asked him what he'd had. He looked embarrassed and said, "I ain't had much this year 'cause our dad's lost his job." I asked him what happened. He said, "I dunno. Our dad says Mrs. Thatcher took it off him." I said, "What, personally?" Barry shrugged and said, "Well, that's what our dad reckons." Barry asked me back to his house for a cup of tea, so I went to show that I bore him no grudge from the days when he used to demand money with menaces from me. The outside of the Kent's council house looked very grim. Barry told me that the council have been promising to mend the fences, doors and windows for years, but the inside looked magical. Paper chains were hung everywhere, almost completely hiding the cracks in the walls and ceilings. Mr. Kent had been out in the community and found a large branch, painted it with white gloss paint, and stuck it into the empty paint tin. This branch effectively took the place of a Christmas tree, in my opinion, but Mrs. Kent said, sadly, "But it's not the same, really. Not if the only reason you've got it is because you can't afford to have a real plastic one." I was going to say that their improvised tree was modernistic and high-tech, but I kept my mouth shut. I asked the Kent children what they'd had for Christmas, and they said, shoes, so I had to pretend to admire them. I had no choice because they kept sticking them under my nose. Mrs. Kent laughed and said, "And Mr. Kent and me gave each other a packet of fags." As you know, dear diary, I disapprove of smoking, but I could understand their need to have a bit of pleasure at Christmas, so I didn't give them my anti-smoking lecture. I didn't like to ask any more questions and politely declined the mince pies they offered. From where I was sitting, I could see into their empty pantry. Walking back home, I wondered how my parents were able to buy decent Christmas presents for me. After all, my father and Mr. Kent were both innocent victims of the robot culture where machines are preferred to people. As I came through our back door, I found out. My father was saying, "But how the hell am I going to pay the next access bill, Pauline?" My mother said, "We'll have to sell something, George. Whatever happens, we've got to hang on to at least one credit card, because it's impossible to live on the dole and Social Security." So, my family's Christmas prosperity is a thin veneer. We've had it on credit. In the afternoon, we went round to Grandma's for Boxing Day tea. As she slurped out the trifle,